Oh, there it is. I went downtown to print some of the stuff and okay. All right. Folks, a minute or two more to join us. Taking advantage of this opportunity to pin you. All right, Ms. Moore, just checking to make sure you're ready.
Yes, I am.
Okay, it looks like we're just pretty good crew here. So we are going to get started. I just want to make sure that the media services is ready to record, and as are you, if that's something you do, and we will get started.
I do. I'm just trying to find the recording now. It's gone away. Here we go. Thanks for the reminder.
All good?
I'm good.
All right, great. The St. Paul City Council will come to order. Roll call.
Yang. Here. Jalali. She may not be on yet. Naker.
Here.
Prince.
Here.
Tao.
Here.
Tolbert.
Here.
Is Councilmember Jolly here yet?
Sorry, here.
And Council President Bredmon.
Here.
7 present, no one absent.
Wonderful. Please stand and join us as Mr. Tao leads the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Council President. I couldn't be more happier. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda items 3 through 16 are before you for your consideration.
All right, and I understand that we will be pulling item 15 for separate consideration. Is there anything else that should be taken separately? All right, seeing none, Ms. Naker moves the balance of the consent agenda. Roll call.
Yang. Aye.
To speak, so.
This is the consent agenda. Ms. Roll call.
Okay. Yang. Aye. Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Bredmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The consent agenda is adopted as amended. Item number 15, Resolution 20-1506, establishing the rate of pay for the Deputy Director of Human Resources. And this item was laid over from last week or the last meeting on the 18th, and this is actually the type of item that has to be on the consent agenda twice.
All right, thank you. Ms. Prince.
Thank you, Council President. The reason I'm pulling this off the agenda is that I need to point out that this position was created for our 2020 budget in 2019, and the salary and benefits were set at $161,000. It wasn't filled in 2020, which was appropriate. And there is an intention that we fill it in 2021. And it has been budgeted in 2021 with an increased salary and benefits equaling $181,000. This has been a budget year in which $20,000 really makes a difference. And I'm just troubled that when this is an unfilled position, a new position, that that we seem to have the need to inflate the salary by $20,000. And I bring it up because in this very difficult year, the administration has been increasing six-figure positions in certain areas with benefit packages that bring these salaries to just under $200,000. And I do not think this is the time to be doing this. So I will be voting against this item.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, so Ms. Yang.
Thanks. I know that we got a presentation about this, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, but to the points that Councilmember Prince brought up, can we get an explanation from someone about the need to increase the salary then for this position? Was that already shared in our presentation 2 weeks ago?
Ms. Prince.
I will say, I believe I asked that question, and I think the explanation was just that there was a feeling that they needed to increase the salary range.
Okay, well, is Tony on the line or something so that she can answer that?
No, she's not on the line. She presented last week and she's not here today. Are there other questions or comments on this item? Ms. Yang.
Great. Thanks. I mean, I think that, that's a really valid point, Councilmember Prince. And I feel like, I think that like it'd be really important to see like what role, whoever, like the person who does fill this role, like, how their work goes, like whether it's effective before we do make a decision on like raising salaries. And so I know, like, I think during my time on the council, we haven't had this role filled yet. And so I would be really curious in seeing more about what they do. And we can have a conversation next year about this some more. I'd be really interested in that. And so I do feel good about voting no with you on this.
Okay, so just to reiterate, you'll be not voting in support, but you would be, should this pass, you would request that we have a check-in a year from now, or maybe January 2022, to get an update on the position.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yang. Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President. I will also be voting no. Like I talked about earlier this morning at our budget committee hearing, look, we're asking everybody to tighten their belt, and so we should be leading an example. And I feel that this is not the right time to be creating this position, and then also with the pay increase. And so I'll be voting no.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tao. Any other discussion on this item?
This may be.
All right, seeing none, Ms. Jalali, move approval. Roll call.
Yang,
No.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
No.
Tao,
No.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmon.
Aye.
4 in favor, 3 opposed, those being council members Yang, Prince, and Tao. The resolution is adopted. Item number 17, ABZA 20-7, public hearing, consider the appeal of William Garman Hargens and Mary Staples Thompson to a decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals approving 6 variances for a second triplex to be constructed on a lot that has an existing triplex at 542 Portland Avenue.
Mr. Tao.
Okay. So with this item, I want to lay this item over until November 16th, December 5th, 16th. My apology. And then so that's what I would like to request for this one.
Okay. So you're requesting that this item get laid over till for 2 weeks then, and to be heard again on the December 16th agenda.
That is correct, because the next item is related to this item, and I'll speak more when we get to the item.
Okay. Mr. Tao, would it be okay if you, because we're kind of taking them together, if you share the explanation for the next item and this one, and then we'll just vote back to back on the 2 items, because I believe you're going to request that delay on both of them, just so we understand what's the BZA item.
Yeah, so for they're related, and so item 18 is for the HPC, and what I like to do is the matter it's being remanded for testimony and rehearing to the HPC on Monday, December 14th, 2020 at 3:30 p.m. And so until that hearing, I would have to lay over the item number 17 to the 16th.
Okay. That makes sense. Am I having connectivity problems, or am I okay?
You're
okay.
going out a little bit.
Okay. I'm getting a message that I'm having bad quality. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Tao, for that explanation. So this item is laid over primarily because the other item has to be voted on first, and we need to lay that over. So with that in mind, I support your motion to lay the matter over for 2 weeks as well. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The item is laid over to December 16th. Item 18, AHPC 20-2, considering the appeal of William Garman Hargens and Mary Staples Thompson to a heritage preservation decision of 540 Portland Avenue in the Historic Hill Heritage Preservation District.
Mr. Tao.
Yep. So this item, again, this matter is going to be remanded for testimony and hearing to the HPC on Monday, December 14th, 2020 at 3:30. And so I'd like to lay this matter over.
Okay.
The 16th.
All right. Mr. Tao moves to lay the matter over till the 16th. Sounds like with a pit stop at the HPC. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The item is laid over to December 16th. Item 19 is second reading of ordinance 20-35, granting the application of Keith Schroeder to rezone the property at 981 Fuller Avenue from R4 single family residential to T2 traditional neighborhood and amending chapter 60 of the legislative code pertaining to the zoning map. This ordinance is laid over to December 9th for third reading public hearing. Item 20 is first reading of ordinance 20-37, creating Chapter 194 of the Legislative Code entitled Smoking Policy Disclosure to require the completion of a smoking sale disclosure report for sale of units within a common interest community. This ordinance is laid over to December 9th for second reading. Item 21, Resolution Public Hearing 20-258, amending the 2020 financing and spending budget in the Department of Public Works Sewer Utility Fund Private Sewer Connection Program.
All right, and this is a public hearing, and we have taken testimony online and over the phone. As such, Ms. Yang would move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brendmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 22, Resolution Public Hearing 20-259, approving the petition of Lang B. Wong on behalf of Century Plaza LLC to vacate a portion of the alley in Block 2, University Division of Lots 1, 2, and 3, and 8, Hyde Park.
And a public hearing has been held online and over the phone. And as such, Mr. Tao would move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Tao.
Yeah, Council President. Yeah, thank you. So this has been a long initiative that Mr. Wong has been trying to initiate. And Mr. Wong's business, the Century Plaza, was also vandalized during the civil unrest. And so I think that moving forward with this to help them vacate so that they can bring more business and additional parking to the business. And so it's a big building with lots of other small mom and pop shop inside. And so I'm looking forward to support this.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, there's a motion to close a public hearing and approve. Roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brendmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 23, Resolution Public Hearing 20-260, approving the petition of Paul Keenan on behalf of GW Restaurant Holdings LLC to vacate a portion of the alley in Hughes Midway Addition.
And Ms. Jalali would move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brendmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 24, Resolution Public Hearing 20-261, approving the petition of Christiana Hang on behalf of the Hmong Education Reform Company to vacate air rights over Brewster Street in the north half of the northwest quadrant of Section 27, Township 29, Range 23.
Ms. Jalali.
Thank you. I appreciate this item coming forward. I am actually the sponsor, given that a lot of these types of items come through my ward as charter requests, and other colleagues too have charters in our area. But I wanted to clarify I won't be voting in support, given that it is connected to the same expansion and project that was part of a large conduit bond discussion earlier in the year. And so to maintain consistency on that issue as it regards to this site, I'm going to vote against it, but wanted to make sure I clarified before we proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Jalali. Ms. Yang?
Thank you. I also didn't support this from the beginning, so I will not be voting in support of it today.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, then we have had a public hearing online and over the phone. So Mr. Tolbert would move to close the public hearing and approve. Roll call.
Yang,
No.
Jalali,
No.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
No.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
4 in favor, 3 opposed, being Councilmembers Yang, Jalali, and Prince. The resolution is adopted. The public hearing is closed and resolution adopted. Item 25, Resolution Public Hearing 20-264, amending the spending and financing plans, the Department of Planning and Economic Development.
And Mr. Tolbert, did you need a staff report on this item or just move to close the public hearing?
I do not. Move to close the public hearing and approve.
All right, and we have had the public hearing online and over the phone, so there's a motion to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item number 26, Resolution Public Hearing 20-267, amending the 2020 spending and financing budget for the Office of Financial Empowerment by $400,000 to accept the Year 2 Whole Family Systems Grant from Minnesota Department of Human Services for advancing 2-generation strategies through College Bound St. Paul.
And we've held a public hearing online and over the phone, and therefore, Mr. Tao would move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 27, Resolution Public Hearing 20-270, approving the interim use permit for a temporary emergency housing facility at 2329 Hendon Street.
And this is in Ward 4, and I believe we are, I'm just getting a quick staff report. Is Jean Kruger from Ramsey County here to present on that briefly?
Council
Bill.
President Bill Dermody, I could probably provide a presentation. Jean Kruger from the county is here as well to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, welcome.
Thank you. Bill Dermody, staff with the Department of Planning and Economic Development. This is an interim use permit request by Ramsey County to operate an emergency housing use at Stube Hall on the Luther Seminary campus. This is a single building that they will be contained within. It's no other part of the Luther Seminary campus. Emergency housing is to serve people who have experienced homelessness. It is not, however, an overnight shelter like other facilities in downtown. People do not leave every morning and come back at night. It is more of a residence. Same people there every day for weeks and perhaps months. They keep all the belongings in their very own room. In many ways, it operates like multifamily, sort of like short-term multifamily catering to people who have experienced homelessness. There will be services provided on site in that vein as well. As you can see in the staff report, all of the findings that are laid out by the state laws related to interim use permits are met, and therefore staff does recommend approval of this interim use permit with a couple of conditions. One of them is that the Department of Safety and Inspections approves the occupancy, and so it's legally fit to inhabit, and also that the use terminate within 90 days of the end of the states of emergency relating to COVID at both the city and state level. So it is a temporary use related to the need created by COVID, and it will not be there in the long term. The longer term use will be up to Luther Seminary.
Great. Are there any questions for Mr. Dermody on this item? Ms. Jalali.
I was mainly going to speak in support if there are no questions, so I'll wait and see if people have questions.
It appears that we do not have questions.
Yeah, well, thank you so much to Bill and then to our partners at the county. I am very heartened to see this important temporary shelter space coming online. Really grateful that this space, which is being unused right now, it's slated for the future Luther Seminary site development, is going to be converted to this temporary use that I think is very appropriate and necessary, and appreciate the neighbors who came to our town hall who raised both overwhelming support and also some useful logistical questions that I know are getting sorted out and have been since then. So this is the next step in an important process, and I'll be voting in support today. Thank you for your work.
Mr. Tolbert.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to not only thank Councilmember Jalali for her leadership on this issue, but also the deputy mayor and the mayor, as well as Ramsey County coming to the plate to make sure that we lead with dignity in our homeless population, and especially as the winter is coming forward, ensuring that we have safe and warm places for everybody to stay at. And this is one component of it, but it's a really important component, and it's a difficult issue, both for financial reasons and many other reasons. But through our leadership, we've been leading with our values on this, and I appreciate that. And Councilman Jalali, with your leadership within the neighborhood, I'm grateful for that, as well as the deputy mayor and our department directors, Ricardo Cervantes, and others, to make sure that this happens. So thank you for everybody for doing this. I'm fully supportive of this, and so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. Are there other comments or questions? Great. Does not appear to be, and there's a motion from Ms. Jalali to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion then? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Bren Moen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Council President Bren Moen, is come to my attention that I misspoke on the item number 24, the resolution public hearing 20-261, when I said it was approved. It only received 4 votes, and vacations need to have 5 affirmative votes in order to pass.
Okay.
So the way the votes went, it would have not passed.
So on item number 24, in order for the airspace, that's the airspace for the Hmong College Preparatory Academy,
Yes.
we voted 4-3, and so it would fail.
That's true.
Okay. So do we need to recall that item so that you can restate the result of the vote? If I guess we weren't, before we voted on that, I'm not sure my colleagues were aware that it requires 5 affirmative votes to pass it either.
Yes, it's all vacations require 5 affirmative votes, and I just forgot about it, and Mr. Engelbrecht emailed me and reminded me.
Okay, well, how about for simplicity's sake, could I just recall this item and then we can re-vote on it and you can say the results again?
Sure.
And yeah, so if you could just do I move to recall the item, or can I just recall it since I voted in the, well, I guess it's hard to call it anything since it didn't pass. Could I request that you read the vote again, or read the item again, and we will vote again so you can properly record this?
Item 24, resolution public hearing 20-261, approving the petition of Christiana Hang on behalf of the Hmong Education Reform Company to vacate air rights over Brewster Street in the north half of the northwest quadrant of Section 27, Township 29, Range 23.
Okay, and on this item, is there anybody here who can explain? I don't recall often voting on airspace, but what are they asking for, and what will, if this vote fails, what does that mean for the project?
Mr. Engelbrecht is on.
Mr. Engelbrecht, can you answer that question for us?
Well, I can try. Councilmember Brenmo and Council President Brenmo and council members, can you hear me, first of all?
Yep, we can.
Okay. I don't know the background of this entire project, but what we have been told is that there are plans to construct a middle school on the south side of Brewster, and then the construction of a skyway bridge that would connect the existing building to the north to the new building to the south. Doing vacations of air rights is not all that common, but it's generally straightforward. There is an envelope in the sky where the bridge would be constructed, and within that right-of-way envelope above the ground, above a certain elevation to allow trucks and so on to pass below, that area is vacated. And we received all of the replies from the utilities and the city departments in order to I guess, justify proceeding with the vacation from a technical standpoint.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying that they can't move forward with the Skyway if we don't pass this airway rights.
Yes, they would not have the rights within the right-of-way or the rights so that there is not right-of-way for them to construct the Skyway within.
Okay. Ms. Prince has a question. Ms. Prince?
When this was before us at HRA, I had voted against it, and in the interest of consistency, I voted against it again today. Although the project was funded, it is presumably moving forward, and I don't have a particular need to stop the vacation. So I'm kind of in play, I guess. I had not planned to vote against this, but to out of respect for my colleagues with whom I shared the opinion that I could not support conduit bonds for this project, I also did not vote for the bond issue.
Okay, I see Mr. Tao has his hand up, so let's go to him for a minute.
Thank you so much. Look, to Councilmember Prince's point, this project is moving forward, and we're at a point where we need to allow this vacate so that they can build a skyway. This is a street that is heavily traveled by cars and trucks. So basically what we're doing is that we're telling these Hmong kids and immigrant kids that go to this school that no matter how busy the street is, you're going to have to cross the street to get to your class. And I'm very surprised that we would allow this to happen to whether it's a heavily immigrated school and family, or this is somewhere in Highland, right? This is an equity issue here, and I believe that in our hearts, at this point of this project, to not allow this, it's very telling about who we are as people.
I guess I would just like to chime in here and say that on further thought, I'm actually going to vote no. I've always been concerned about the Skyway portion of this project, and I truly appreciate what I just heard Mr. Tao say. However, my experience is the street is quite untrafficked, and it is a Skyway that goes to the rec facilities that we discussed in a previous conversation. So I think that we can move forward without this Skyway. I have Wellstone Elementary School that the kids have to walk through a busy street just to get to their playground, and I'm not interested in financing a brand new Skyway for folks to get to the turf dome. I think they can suffice without it. So I'm going to vote against it now that I've had a chance to consider. I see Ms. Naker, Mr. Tolbert, and Ms. Prince have hands up.
Thanks, Council President. I just want to clarify because I thought I just heard you say financing, and I just want to be very clear. We're not talking about any public dollars going into this project. We're just giving permission to this property to build the skyway that the part of their development that happens to be a skyway in this case that they hope to build. I just want to be clear about that.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think if I misspoke, I apologize. I think that we know supporting the financing was something I voted for previously, but I've never been supportive of the skyway. And so I'm not going to support an airway easement so that can go forward. It's just not something I can get behind. Any other, Mr. Tolbert?
Do we have any members from the school on the call? Would we want to consider laying it over and having them come answer these questions of what the specifics are for and the purpose and what it means for the project completely? That background would be helpful to me. I agree. I mean, part of me, I agree. At Skyway seems like a huge cost. At the same time, we don't want to necessarily use our limited public resources to do traffic improvements if it is an issue, which we'd have to do on the street. If it becomes an issue later with the safe routes to school or whatever we might have to do. Anyways, I just think it'd be helpful to have the members of the school here, and maybe we could lay this over and invite them to a future meeting.
And Mr. Tolbert, I would support a motion to lay the matter over and get answers on the question, because I also believe that the Skyway was something that they were unable to use the state resources for building. And so this is a privately financed Skyway as well. So some of those details would be good to understand. So there's a motion for a 1 week layover.
Do we
so
want to do it next week or do we want to do it? What's the timeline on?
I think next week would be fine.
All right, that's fine with me. Next week. A motion over then.
All right, so there's been a motion for a 1 week layover. Any discussion on that motion? All right.
I just want to point out someone has their hand up. I think it's the staff member.
Oh, thank you. He is in that attendees group, so I didn't see him. Mr. Engelbrecht?
Yes, Council President and council members, I just wanted to say that Dr. Hang had been monitoring the meeting and then had communicated with one of our staff people to say that she had noted that it had passed. And so I think laying it over to give her an opportunity to speak if she chooses to is a good thing to do, because I think at this moment she may not be part of the monitoring the council meeting and might want to have an opportunity.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce. Sure. We appreciate your perspective on whether or not we should lay the matter over. Okay, so any further discussion from council members on the motion for a layover? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed. The resolution is laid over to December 9th. Item number 28, resolution public hearing 20-273, authorizing the city of St. Paul to budget $3,000 of interest and transfer $315,151 of coronavirus relief fund aid between specific project accounts.
And we have held a public hearing online and over the phone. As such, I will move to close this public hearing and approve. Is there discussion on that motion? Mr. Tolbert, your hand is up, but I believe it is from the last item, just making sure. All right. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item number 29, ordinance 20-29, amending chapter 409 of the legislative code pertaining to the distance restriction between liquor license locations to reduce the location radius for off-sale wine-only license locations.
And this was amended last week, but we haven't had a discussion yet. Is there a staff report on this, or is this something one of the authors, sponsors would like to tee up for us?
We did. We weren't planning on a staff report. If any of my colleagues would like a staff report, I believe that Mr. Cervantes is available. We had asked him to keep an eye out.
Okay, now it looks like I'm not necessarily asking for a staff report, but maybe if you or Mr. Tao could just share your initiative with us.
Sure. As I believe everyone knows, the distance requirement between off-sale liquor retail outlets is a half mile. And St. Paul has a wine license that when we first looked into being able to open a wine shop in Dayton's Bluff, we had talked to DSI, and Mr. Nijelik had recommended that we look at, we had looked at various things. Could we have a variance? Are there other ways that we could get at this? And Mr. Nijelik felt that having a different requirement for the wine shop license would be probably the most appropriate way to handle this. We do have a wine shop license, but there is no one currently in St. Paul who holds a wine shop license. The retailer in my ward who wants to open this is the main reason that I got involved in this. However, we've been meeting with the district councils and business associations, and we have found in those conversations that there are a couple of other potential businesses that are interested in this option. One thing that's important to note, there's been a lot of concern that this will allow big boxes to come in, or for more supermarkets to open wine shops within St. Paul. In terms of the distance, we did change the distance from 300 feet to a quarter mile as a way of reducing the potential for that to happen. And it's also important to note that all of our surrounding suburban communities have done away with distance requirements for off-sale liquor. And that has occurred because of the interest of large big box stores who want to move into those suburban communities and are seeking to have distance requirements eliminated. So this would not be making any kind of a drastic change like that. And also, what else was I going to say? I should have prepared for this because I had asked Mr. Cervantes if he could be on hand. In any event, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to handle. Oh, I know. The other thing is that early on when we had proposed this, we heard from a number of off-sale liquor store owners saying that this would result in a wine shop on every block. As I think most of us know, the state law prohibits us from having more liquor licenses. It's based on population, and based on our current population, there are only 7 off-sale liquor licenses of any kind that are available. So if someone did want to open a wine shop, or if anybody wanted to do it, anybody who wants to open a liquor store right now has a shot at those 7 licenses, and then that's it until we get our census redone, and that will probably add a few more licenses. But I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for considering this.
All right, thank you, Ms. Prince. I see Mr. Tao also has a hand up.
Thank you, Council President. I signed on to co-sponsor this because just looking at the data, the amount of tax revenue that we have lost, and the work that we've been doing, Councilmember Necker, Councilmember Prince, and Open for Business initiative to prepare and to market St. Paul as a place to do business, and we're trying to do every little step to increase those revenue. And so this is part of that initiative in my mind. And then the bars has closed, the restaurant has closed, but the liquor store is considered an essential business, and their business is actually picked up. And so this is not a threat to existing business. This is a specialized merchandise and service that has its own market. And so that's why I think it's important for us to do these little initiatives to market ourselves that we want to do business, and any kind of business that's appropriate, we're going to support it. So that's why I'm supporting this, and I hope that my colleague will consider as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. Are there questions for Mr. Tao or Ms. Prince, or other comments on this item before we close our public hearing? Mr. Tolbert.
So the first question I had, the current law is a half a mile, and the current proposal, your proposal is a quarter mile?
Yeah, for wine license, wine shops only.
Okay, why just wine? Why not wine and beer, and why not a full liquor store? Why are we distinguishing in that?
Well, it came about because I have a business owner in my ward who would like to open a wine-only store, and the distance requirement for off-sale liquor is a half mile. And when we had talked about ways to do this with, in a way that would impact the smallest number of retailers, it seemed as though Mr. Nijelik felt that the best thing to do would be to have a smaller distance requirement for wine-only licensed shops. Downtown St. Paul, the distance requirement for all off-sale liquor is 300 feet, and we had originally proposed 300 feet based on the downtown measure. I think that one thing that we found in this discussion is that the off-sale liquor stores felt threatened by this and did not want us to be increasing competition. That obviously wasn't our goal, but this off-sale liquor is one of the only areas where we have a distance requirement. Tobacco stores and a few other categories of licensed retailers. And so, 3 or 4 coffee shops can move in on a block, but off-sale liquor, whether it's because in Minnesota, we have tended to look at licensed beverages and tobacco as being things that we want to limit. I'm not sure how it evolved, but as I said, I think there's a lot. We know that there's a lot of changes in the liquor industry, starting with the Sunday liquor store hours, the ongoing decades-long debate about wine and beer being sold in grocery stores. I think we did this because it would have a narrow impact, and it seemed like it would provide a business opportunity for people who were looking for it, but it wouldn't impact all of the existing off-sale liquor establishments.
Did you have other questions, Mr. Tolbert? Okay. Ms. Naker.
Thank you, Council President. Just a point of clarification. Are we having a public hearing in any form, or is this, we've taken the testimony and now it's time for comments based on that? Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify. Well, in that case, it's always awkward to speak at the public hearing as opposed to the last vote. But in this case, since we don't really have a huge crowd assembled either way, I'll speak now. I'm going to vote in support of this item. I really appreciate the work that Councilmember Prince and her office have done to do community engagement with, I think, almost every district council on this subject, which is no easy feat. And I think we should be doing everything we can to help small businesses open their doors, especially during this time of pandemic. If there's a small business owner out there who has a concept and wants to give it a go, and it's not going to be a detriment to public health or welfare, then I think it's our job to get out of the way and allow that to happen and make it easy for that to happen. And I think to Councilmember Prince's point, she and Councilmember Tao have done a really good job of structuring this ordinance in a way that it has a very limited impact. I think anytime you open up an ordinance to allow for more businesses to open, that inherently increases competition for the existing businesses. And I think that's okay. That's a healthy tension. Our economy depends on healthy competition. And I don't think that should be a reason, because it's going to increase competition on existing businesses, not to allow new businesses to open and to try their hand at it. So I'm going to be voting in support of this.
Thanks, Ms. Naker. Any other comments at this time? Ms. Prince?
Yeah, and I'll simply say, just in closing, as far as my comments, that my legislative aide, Stephanie Haar, I should have had Stephanie online because she is an absolute expert on this subject now. And she did all of the work of attending community council and business association meetings. And I also want to add that we did also get the support of the city's business review council, which was very meaningful for us. That came early on in the process, and we're just very supportive that they saw this, as my colleagues have said, as creating a business opportunity and something that they wanted to support.
All right. And any other, Ms. Yang?
Thanks. We're taking a final vote on this today. Is that right?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other comments, colleagues? All right. All right. So we have had a public hearing online and over the phone, and it sounds like quite a bit of community in reach directly through the BRC and through the neighborhood council. So with that, Ms. Prince would move to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the ordinance is laid over to December 9th for final adoption. Item number 30, AHPC 20-3, public hearing to consider the appeal of Jim Lavelle, TJL Development LLC, to the Heritage Preservation Commission decision of 156 Dale Street in the Historic Hill Heritage Preservation District.
All right. And I know we discussed this earlier today. Is there a staff report on this item? I believe there was.
I believe there is, and I'm making them presenters now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Sorry for my dog right there. My name is Allison Suhan Eggers. I'm a senior historic preservation planner in PED. And so tonight we have 156 Dale Street in the Historic Hill Heritage Preservation District. This was an application heard at the October 19th HPC meeting, and the application was for a demolition of a historic structure. And I will share my screen so you all can see what I'm talking about. So before you is the one-story brick garage and repair shop on the right that was constructed in 1915. And the applicant proposed to demolish this building as part of a two-part application. The first application, which is the one we're talking about, is the demolition, and the second part to follow would be for a new construction proposal for a 4-story residential building. And that application would come forward if the demolition were approved. The new construction was not reviewed at the HPC meeting, solely the demolition. This application was actually previously heard at the March 9th HPC meeting, where the HPC voted unanimously 7-0 to deny the demolition. Originally, the applicant had a tenant in line to lease this building space, but due to COVID, the tenant pulled out, and the applicant reapplied for demolition to the commission because they perceived preserving the garage to be infeasible for them due to cost. And so they asked again for approval for demolition. The HPC voted 6-2 to deny the demolition at the October 19th meeting. If the City Council chooses to approve the appeal and allow the demolition, staff would recommend that the conditions that were outlined on page 3 of the HPC staff report be included in your resolution, as they are standard conditions that are applied to demolitions within historic districts, just to maintain consistency of expectations of demolitions of historic structures within locally preserved preservation districts. Happy to answer any questions.
Actually, could I just ask a quick question? I'm toggling between a bunch of screens. Is it possible for you to you just said that if we were to move forward with approval for demolition here, that the HPC requested that there were some guidelines that you mentioned. Could you just go over those quickly? I'm not able to pull them up right now.
Oh, sure. I can pull them up on the screen so everyone can see the same thing. So there's standard conditions for HPC approved demolitions, which the first is that a demolition permit would not be issued until until the new construction proposal is also approved by all city agencies. This ensures that the loss of a historic structure is because of a new proposal and not when we won't have an empty lot. The second condition is for documentation of the existing structure. This is something that there's standard practices that are outlined by the state of Minnesota in terms of how to photograph historic structures that are being prepared for demolition. And the next one is for pre-existing conditions of the public right-of-way should be documented prior to any demolition, and any extant historic material should be carefully removed, salvaged, and reinstalled. This is more in terms of if there's any existing stone curbs that should be retained, any brick driveway aprons, anything of that sort to be maintained. Number 4 would be to notify HPC staff or the state archaeologists of any archaeological discoveries made during demolition and construction. And the last 2 are our general guidelines for, or our general conditions for compliance with city regulations and maintaining all approvals are made before starting construction.
Okay. Thank you for going through that. Like I said, I'm toggling a bunch of different screens and trying to make sure I have eyes on my colleagues. So I appreciate your taking a moment to do that. This is in Ward 1. I have Mr. Tao's hand up and then Ms. Naker and Ms. Prince. So let's start with Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President. Allison, can you share with us how many housing unit was originally proposed for this site if this appeal goes through?
Sure. So I'm not exactly sure on unit numbers, specifically because we didn't get into that kind of detail when we're talking about the demolition of a structure. They are proposing a 4-story residential complex, and I have a outline of what they are proposing, just to give you an idea. So it would wrap around, it would have a Selby Avenue front as well as a Dale Street front. On the right of the screen is what they're currently proposing. It would wrap around the historic commercial building that anchors the corner there. And the next one should have a outline. So on the left, you have the existing, and on the right, you have the proposed. And I know that they're still kind of in brainstorming phase for this, so I can't give you an exact number of units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is a significant question because we continue to have issue with housing in St. Paul, and so just based on the merit or the significance of the historic here, so let's say that the cathedral is a 5. What level of historic significance is this one?
Well, so we review historic structures in terms of categorized as contributing or not contributing to the historic significance of the district. And this one, per our records, it is designated as contributing to the district. And based on my assessment of what we have on this, the reason for the categorization of significance of it being contributing is because of its date of construction. Because it was the period of significance for the Historic Hill District is from 1858 to 1930. And so census was built in 1915. And then I know the front of the building was changed in 1926. Both of those dates are within that period of significance established for the district. Therefore, it's considered contributing.
Thank you, Allison.
All right, I see Ms. Naker and then Ms. Prince.
Thanks, Council President. Can you clarify whether the structure itself, I understand that it's contributing, but is it itself designated either at the local, state, or national level?
Sure, Councilmember, it's designated at the local level. This is within the local Historic Hill Heritage Preservation District. It is, in case if I'm inferring your question right, it's not a landmark on its own. It is part of the context of the Historic Hill District. So it's part of the district rather than being an individual listed site.
Got it. Okay, so it's within a locally designated district and considered contributing, although it itself hasn't received separate designation.
Correct.
And I guess just to better understand the context there, would a structure within a local district receive additional designation? Does that confer any additional status on it, or is it just it's irrelevant? It's part of the district.
Sites can have multiple levels of significance and multiple levels of designation concurrently. So it can be an individually listed site that is also within a district, so it can maintain both of those statuses simultaneously.
Thanks.
Ms. Prince.
I am trying to figure out, Allison, so the plan, they have, Laval Companies hasn't come forward with a plan yet. They want to remove the building and then come up with their plan. So did they ever consider the option of incorporating it into the plan? Because it seems like as a building that it's kind of like a blank slate. I mean, that it might be easily woven into a larger development. Was that given any consideration?
Yes, Councilmember, the part of their original proposal when discussing with HP staff was to incorporate the building as part of the overall plan for the new development. And they had a tenant lined up to lease the space to open up a hair salon. But given COVID-19 and the challenges with opening up a new business, the tenant decided to withdraw from the lease arrangement. And after looking through their finances, the applicant felt that it was not feasible for them to maintain the structure with their current plan. And they have outlined their new construction proposal. What you see on the screen is some of the renderings that we've seen on what they plan to propose. But part of what, and I understand from their perspective, they don't want to get too far into that plan without knowing that it's feasible in terms of this building being a part of the parcel.
Okay, because the building that is showing there in the drawing on the right, it's the building on the left-hand side of that picture that is the housing development. Is that right?
So what you're looking at here is, if you're looking at the right-hand image, the building that is farthest to the right is the rendering of the new construction, and the building next to that is the existing commercial building that is at Selby Dale.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I can pull up the survey again too, that kind of outlines the layout.
Okay. So the development wraps around the building on the corner.
Correct. And part of their proposal plan for the new construction is to make it a 4-story complex. Originally, they were proposing 5 stories, and they had gotten feedback that may be too tall and it may overshadow the corner historic commercial building. And so part of what you're seeing on this screen is their previous proposal for the 5-story building, but maintaining the garage, and their new proposal, which is demolishing the garage, but creating a 4-story construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on this item? All right. And Ms. Prince, do you have other questions, or is just that your hand's still up?
Yeah, I haven't taken my hand down.
Okay, that's all. I never want to miss one of those. I still have a question. All right, so there's no other questions. Mr. Tao.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to ask for a layover to January 27th and allow the district council, if they have requested, additional time to engage the developer. And so that would be my motion. Layover till January 27th.
All right, so should we, to be clear then, should we close the public hearing, or would you like to keep the public hearing open until that time? Should we close the public hearing and then lay over, or keep open? I suppose the district councils people would have an opportunity to share it there.
Yeah. I guess we can close it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Tao is going to move to close the public hearing and lay this over until January, I missed your date.
27th.
27th.
Mm-hmm.
And I will speak in support of the motion. And I realize that this is an HPC question, but I just want to say I am excited about the prospect of the property, the 4-story residential property in that very vibrant area that the city has invested a lot of resources in over decades. It's a very walkable neighborhood. There's a brand new Dale Street Bridge nearby, and just looking at a building that connects both to Dale and Selby is really exciting to me. And while I thought Mr. Tao had a very good question about, on a scale of 1 to 5, what are we looking at here? The building, I think that if we hold true to the criteria that's laid forth in the HPC's request about, and if we move towards a demolition, that we check some of those boxes, but that this, for the health of the neighborhood, I think looks fantastic, and I'm excited to see that project move forward. So I will wait and let the district councils weigh in and hear what people have to say, but I just did not want to let this opportunity go by without saying that the project to me looks like something needed in our city and in the right location. So I see Ms. Jalali has a hand up too.
Thank you. I guess I would just say I respect the desire for more engagement. I have some concerns about the general situation we're asked to weigh in on. I think this situation is illuminating how our historic preservation districts can sometimes create layers and layers of process on what would otherwise be relatively straightforward decisions. And I do wholeheartedly think more housing at this site would be a much better use of the site. I think it should be subject to basic community engagement, but I'm really, I guess, personally struck by the fact that this was taken up in March with months preceding that. There was a decision in October, and then this could potentially continue that conversation into early next year. And that actually incurs a cost too, both to the possible affordability of the future project and also just the opportunity cost of relative other things to work on. So I guess I would just say I am voting against the layover just in the spirit of, I'm ready to support the appeal today. I think it would be great to get this project going, but I respect where others land in wanting to include more time and involve more vision. But I just wanted to make those points because I think that's part of what we're deciding on. So thank you, and thanks, Councilmember Tao.
Other thoughts on the motion to close the public hearing and lay the matter over? With the intention, I believe, to vote then on December 27th. Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
No.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
6 in favor, 1 opposed, being Councilmember Jalali. The public hearing is closed and the item is laid over to January 27th. The legislative hearing officer recommends adoption of the following resolutions as no objections to these recommendations were received. Item 31, RLH SAO 20-27, 1552 Arlington Avenue East. Item 32, RLH SAO 20-45, 406 Edmond Avenue. Item 34, RLH VBR 20-68, 1323 Payne Avenue. Item 36, RLH 08 20-8, 1214 St. Albans Street North. Item 37, RLH TA 20-668, 1888 St. Clair Avenue. And item 38, RLH FCO 20-122, 1025 Selby Avenue. And again, the motion is to adopt these items.
All right. So moved by Mr. Tao. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted. For the following item, no objection to the legislative hearing officer's amended recommendation was received, and therefore she recommends amendment and adoption of item 40, RLH RR 20-24, 657 Sherburne Avenue. And again, the motion is to amend and adopt.
Ms. Moore, can you remind me the number of that item?
It was item number 40.
Item 40.
There was
All right.
another list that was sent out a little bit shortly before the meeting.
Mm-hmm. All right. So on this, so moved by Mr. Tao. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted as amended. For the following item, the legislative hearing officer's recommendation is to amend and continue the public hearing to December 9th. Item 41, RLH RR 20-32, 901 York Avenue. And again, the motion is to amend and continue the public hearing to December 9th.
All right, so moved by Ms. Yang. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted and the public hearing is continued to December 9th. For the following item, the legislative hearing officer's recommendation is to refer to legislative hearing to December 8th. Item 33, RLH RR 20-44, 854 Edmond Avenue. And again, the motion would be to refer to the legislative hearing on December 8th.
So moved by Mr. Tao. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The item is referred to the December 8th legislative hearing. For the following item, the legislative hearing officer's recommendation is contested and additional testimony from the appellant is in the record. Item 35, RLH RR 19-30, 1904 Princeton Avenue. And I believe there is a staff report.
All right, Ms. Mormond.
Council President Brenmo and council members, 1904 Princeton is a remove or repair case, also known as a substantial nuisance abatement order. I have actually had this scheduled in legislative hearing 9 times since November of 2019 when I initially began working on the file. 1904 Princeton has been in the registered vacant building program since 2007 when it was condemned as a result of severely hoarded conditions. By way of background, the owners appealed that condemnation order to vacate at the time, and the council denied the appeal. In the 13 ensuing years, the property continues to be hoarded. This does present a hazard if there's an emergency within the premise, both for people within the structure if an emergency occurs, as well as for public safety personnel responding. As you know, hoarded conditions block egress and provide a much greater fire load. As you know, there's 2 very basic conditions we look for when we begin discussions of substantial nuisance abatement orders. The first is a $5,000 performance deposit, and the second is that a code compliance inspection report be conducted. Although the $5,000 performance deposit was posted some time ago for this report, there's still no code compliance inspection report. These reports review a building's conditions, but these conditions cannot be assessed by trades inspectors when they do not have access to floors, ceilings, and walls. If it has been fully a year since we began this process, numerous opportunities to clean out the property have been provided. Deadlines, extensions have been repeatedly broken. The owners have been unwilling or unable to engage in the steps necessary to rehabilitate. Exhaustive discussions of hoarding and the considerations of this situation have been discussed. Resources have been offered, references to social workers, companies with specialized in hoarded houses and so on have been offered. As the record in front of you indicates, this has been in hearings for longer than other cases of this nature because of personal, family, and COVID issues. But this is the 1-year anniversary of the project. I do not have a code compliance inspection report documenting conditions, and I have no concrete, reliable plan for that to be achieved. Therefore, I recommend that the City Council order the property to be removed with no option for its rehabilitation. Mr. Steve Anderson, representing the owners of the property, is on the line and has also submitted written testimony for the record. So when you're ready to receive his testimony, I would simply ask that his microphone, he can unmute himself and testify.
Okay. Before we go to testimony, are there questions for Ms. Mormond? Okay. And I just do have one. Ms. Mormon, can you remind me, you stated a date from when this has been first entered into the vacant building. I think that date predated every council member's time in office.
This went into the vacant building program in 2007.
Okay, thank you. I want to make sure I heard that correctly. All right. All right. Thank you. So there's no questions for Ms. Mormon. So we'll go to testimony or Mr. Anderson, who is representing the property owner.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you, Council President. A couple things before I get started on the substantive. I want to make sure I understand the order as it's stated in the meeting agenda. It has a parenthetical saying amend to remove within 15 days, that language. I'm not sure. I apologize. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. If you remove 15 days, then does it say Princeton Avenue after the December 18th, 2000? I'm just confused. I think what Legislative Officer Mormon is saying is that 15 days after this. Is that right, Marcia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and actually, if I apologize for not starting us out on a good. We haven't had a whole lot of public testimony here in COVID time. So if you wouldn't mind, you could start out by introducing yourself, letting us know where you live and what you're doing here representing this property today. So we have just some context there. And yes, the order is for a raise and removal 15 days from the time that we pass this item today, should that pass.
Certainly. So my name is Steve Anderson. I'm an attorney in St. Paul. I've agreed to take on this particular case in March, which is an interesting date because that's when the COVID things came in. And recognizing that the home has an extensive history from 2007 forward of noncompliance. The reason really for that is that, or I should say why I took it, is because there appeared to be serious issues with hoarding and not a lot of attorney representation in those previous years. So that's why I took it, and that's what I'm doing here today, Council President. So although it does look, a legislative hearing officer is correct, if you look at the list, it does look like a 13-year problem. But if you go from the 5,000 or 15,000 feet level down to the ground, you'll see that whole time until September 2019, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure on them to comply. And instead, they paid their taxes, they paid their fees.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson, one other thing is you have 5 minutes. So I want to make sure that you get to I did not say that before we started. So I just want to be clear that if, we're looking for why we should not do a raise and remove on this item today. So just your timer is running and I just want to make sure that you were aware that there was a limit on your comments. And we do also have access to the comments that were submitted into the public system.
That's fine. And I apologize for that. So really, I can just go back to the conclusion of the documents that I submitted. And the one I really want to hammer on is that we're making pretty good progress, even though it's been 13 years. This is a family with serious hoarding conditions. And I do believe that if you look at the records and some of the things that we submitted, you'll see that some significant progress is made. No, it's not up to letting people go through it for an inspection. That is true. Secondly, I really want to stress something that this, although it sounds sort of a last-ditch effort, but the reality is that come March, we had a hoarder specialist on site getting things moved for her, and then I came on board, and then of course the COVID issues arose. These are two people with very high risk for COVID, and it has significantly impacted their ability or their perceived ability. Am I done already at 5 minutes? And so I'm asking that this process, and I agree with Officer Milan that it is a long time process. But we've also been encountering some pretty interesting issues. So to raise this house today would mean that we're going to raise this house in the middle of a pandemic that could impact my clients pretty severely, and I just don't see the need to do it right now. Would give us some extra time to get the experts that are working with her back in there and get it done.
Okay. So your request is for extra time. Do you have a ballpark of what sort of extra time you're requesting, sir?
Well, I was reading the memo and I said to myself that wasn't exactly the best description of the time. 6 weeks or something after the emergency is taken off. But I think now with the introduction of the medicine coming forward to help stop the pandemic, I would probably, looking at this, thinking it would make some sense to not wait for the emergency to end, but to go a little sooner, which I suspect will be in the spring. And I think what I'm reading now, of course, it could change, is that somewhere around the spring, we'll have a significant decrease in the likelihood of catching COVID.
Okay. Mr. Tao, do you have a question for Mr. Anderson? You might be on mute, Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Anderson, how many property does your client have in St. Paul or in the Twin City?
This is the one. You mean that they own?
Yeah.
This is the only property that they own, yeah.
Okay. And so, Mr. Anderson, there has been, just give me an example of during the civil unrest, there was many property that were damaged, and it was during time of COVID, and these folks were able to repair their business or their property, but you're saying that your client can't do that, and for the last 15 years.
No, I'm not saying that. And what I'm saying is, for the last 6 months, they haven't been able to do that. I'm actually a COVID survivor myself. Almost died. Spent several days in the hospital. I understand their concern. They both have underlying conditions, and I get your point. People, we're rebuilding, but people are also catching COVID. I mean, that's just the reality. It's there, and it's out there everywhere. And they both are diabetic, and I tell you don't want to catch it with diabetes. And that's what's happening. So we have, on top of what's a hoarder personality, I'm not denying that, we have this fear of even interacting with anybody at all. And that's what I'm saying, Councilman.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tao. Ms. Mormond? Ms. Mormond, you may be on mute.
I apologize. I had a comment and I wanted to make it before Mr. Anderson was gone, and that is that one of the options which would avert COVID risk is simply to empty the house and move all of the items into pods or into remote storage for the inspections to occur. If items have been sitting untouched for a period of time, they are not contagious with the COVID virus. And so that is an option which was explored and rejected by the property owners. But I would say that it has not to do with the COVID per se, but the need to touch and be a part of each item's decision making that seems to be more of issue in my assessment. But Mr. Anderson has a better idea of where his clients might be on that.
No, Officer Mullen, I would say that there's a slice of truth in every piece of this particular issue, as is always the case with folks with hoarding. But to go back to, I would say they're only in partial non-compliance. That sounds crazy, but they do have pods and they are filling the pods. But to your point, that yes, the process is, if you were to walk through the building today, you would see items that are much more stacked and being gone through by my clients that are then they've got a process they worked out. It then goes in the outdoors. The outdoors then goes into either into a garbage area or into the pods. And yes, as I've said several times to the legislative group, it's slow, but it's much faster today than it was earlier. And if you look at the statement of, and I've attached to the memo from the professional working with her, she does acknowledge that it's getting better, and that she in fact sees some characteristics with Mary, the client, that she hasn't seen in other folks in a similar situation. So I'm simply I'm not saying it's all about COVID. I'm not saying that at all, Council, but I am saying that it does substantially put a tweak in it. And so you could also look at it one other way. It's been up there 13 years unattended to. It sat there for a long time. And then now we've come back in September of 2019 and revisited it. Half that time is spent under an interesting COVID situation. And another way to put it is, what's another 2 or 3 months to get past this particular fear that the parties have of catching COVID?
Right. All right. Mr. Tolbert, did you have your hand up? You might have your mute on.
I hit the hand instead of the. I don't have questions for the party.
Oh.
I close the public hearing when the time comes.
All right. So there's a motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? All right. And again, we have taken comments. There are quite a few in Legistar as well. So there is a motion before us to close the public hearing by Mr. Tolbert. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali. Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Breadmont.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed.
Mr. Tolbert.
Ms. Mormon, could you restate the recommendation, your recommendation?
The resolution in front of you is a 15-day order to remove or repair the property. When it comes to a point where I do not see an option for a property's repair, I recommend the council amend the resolutions to be remove only. And so I'm recommending that the council order the property removed with no option for rehabilitation within 15 days.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, this is an action we never want to take as a council. It's one that it is hard to do, but this is also a case that, despite what the attorney said on the phone about what's a few more months, all it takes is a fire, and for us to have to send our fire department into this place right now is dangerous to every member on our fire department, and that's what this is about. That's what a few more months could mean. It has been a unique year. Council President Breadmont and I often joke that we're the old timers on this council now, based on our years. I'm about to hit my 9th year, and this started with my predecessor. This house. I mean, that's how old it goes. Granted, it's only been a year in this case, and it has been a unique year. I know that, and we all needed to be careful. But when you have this pressure on your and knowledge of knowing that this is what's coming down the pike, this potential, and we get to the point where our hearing officer says they don't see any resolution beyond us removing this property, I think that's where we have to get to. So, like I said, it's never an action we want to take, but this is particularly a public safety hazard right now, and I'm going to make a motion to approve the recommendation of the hearing officer.
All right, and I There's a motion made for the recommendation of the legislative hearing officer, and I agree with everything Mr. Tolbert said from this being a tough decision to make, but also I want to commend Ms. Mormon. I know when these cases come before her, how hard she works to try to connect folks with resources and to try to find a path for people. And when we're staring 13 years down, not only is it a public safety issue, but it's unfair to neighbors as well. So I'm in support of the motion by Mr. Tolbert. Any other discussion on that motion? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted as amended.
All right. And that's the end of the legislative hearings?
No, we still have one more.
Okay.
For the following item, the legislative hearing officer's recommendation is contested and additional testimony from the appellant is in the record. Item 39, RLH VO 20-53, 2272 7th Street West. And we have a staff report.
Ms. Mormon.
Council President, this is an appeal of an order to vacate based on a condemnation of the property. The owner described having been taken advantage of by the tenants in recent months and the conditions deteriorating significantly. He described having difficulty accessing the property and only being able to once there was a significant police action at the property, which involved ultimately the Department of Safety and Inspections coming in, inspecting and condemning. When a property is in the condition that this property is in, which I would describe as having building, plumbing, electrical issues, as well as an infestation, carbon monoxide detector problems, and it's been illegally used as a boarding house. We've got both the condemnation and major code violations. So 2 of the 7 criteria to meet the definition of a Category 2 registered vacant building, 2 of the 3 are met in this property. So just reading the code, this would be a Category 2 registered vacant building requiring a code compliance inspection sign off to be reoccupied. That means minimum code compliance standards would need to be met and you'd have the trades inspectors go through. The owner indicates this is COVID. These are hard times. The rent isn't coming in as much as he would like it to be. And he believes that this is an onerous requirement at this point in time. I have recommended in the past that there are some circumstances where a building is condemned in order to vacate it, where the council could reasonably allow it to be reoccupied without a full code compliance inspection. Those cases would be utility shutoffs. So for example, if the gas, electric, or water is shut off in the building condemned, it is simply a matter of turning them back on again. And it really isn't talking about major violations throughout the structure. Very reasonable not to require that. Another would be similar to the case we just heard. If it's simply unsanitary conditions and you need it to be cleaned, that may not mean you need electrical, plumbing, and building work and so on. The inspection report in this particular case does show a breadth of violations, which I would say is a red flag for me, saying it would benefit from a code compliance inspection. I am recommending that the council waive the vacant building registration fee, $2,100 for 3 months, in order that that money could be better spent perhaps by the owner doing the repairs on the structure rather than paying the fee. So if he can move more quickly to get these things done, that would be to his benefit financially there too. So I can answer any questions you have, and his statement is in the record, and he submitted a statement and also photos.
Thank you, Ms. Mormon. So that information is in our system in Legistar and before us all. We've had a chance to review that. Are there any questions for Ms. Mormon? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert would move to close the public hearing. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed.
Mr. Tolbert.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Mormon. I've had the opportunity to read the property owner's letter as well as review the file and what Ms. Mormon said here today. And I think based on all that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the recommendation of the hearing officer.
All right. Mr. Tolbert moves the recommendation of the legislative hearing officer. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted. We're now to the suspension.
Okay.
items.
All right. So Ms. Jalali moves suspension of the rules. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The rules are suspended. Resolution 20-1489, authorizing the city to enter into agreement number 1044951 with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for federal funding to lease electric vehicles for the Twin City Electric Vehicle Mobility Network project.
Right, and this item is under suspension simply because last week was the Thanksgiving holiday and we had some timing issues. Is there? Do folks have questions on this item? If not, Ms. Jalali would move to approve. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye. Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted.
Ms. Yang moves suspension of the rules. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. Rules are suspended. Resolution 20-1680, honoring and commemorating the life and contributions of Winston Saudao Tao, also known as Belia Yang Tao.
Thank you. Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President. About less than a week ago, Mr. Ya Tao has passed away, and he is will be greatly missed. He was an educator. When he was 60, he went to get his bachelor degree, even though he was an educator in Laos, but those degree doesn't carry over to this country. And then when he was 64, he got his master degree. And then he was currently working on his JD when he unexpectedly passed away. And so he was a community leader. He was a educator. He taught families and kids culture. He was a community mediator who helped resolve family dispute. And so it would be greatly lost. And we thought that this would be a way to celebrate him at his funeral this Sunday.
Thank you, Mr. Tao, for bringing this forward. Ms. Yang, you are also a sponsor. Did you have anything to add?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to Councilmember Tao for introducing me to Belia Tao and their family. And, he also shared that Belia Tao lived in my ward as well. So it's really an honor to be able to learn about their life. And if you look at the resolution here, I mean, there are just so many amazing things that Ying Tao has done in his life, from being an educator to being a top advisor to Hmong associations like our Taku National, which are like the head clans for our Hmong clans. And so I feel like he has lived a life that where he has built such a deep legacy, and it's really an honor to get to learn more about that. And also I feel like for folks like us, right, who are like children of refugees, among refugees, like we carry so much of like the torch and being able to continue sharing stories and the lives of people like this, like Ying Tao, who have really created, the legacies today and made so much possible. And we have a lot more to do. And so, thank you so much, Councilmember Tao, for bringing this resolution to life and commemorating the Ying Tao.
Thank you, Councilmember Yang, and we will be reading this at the funeral on Sunday.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Tao and Ms. Yang move approval. Roll call.
Yang?
Aye.
Jalali? Nager?
Aye.
Prince?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Tolbert?
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen?
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted.
All right, we have come to the end of our regularly scheduled programming for this meeting. If folks have news from the wards they'd like to share before we take a quick break and head into TNT, we will do that right now. Ms. Prince. You may be on mute.
Yes, thank you. I want to call attention to an ongoing event at the Eastside Freedom Library that's hosted by the Eastside Freedom Library and the St. Paul Recovery Act Reading Group. We are doing readings. This year we've been meeting monthly on the second Tuesday of each month. So December 8th from 6:30 to 8. You can get the Zoom link through the Eastside Freedom Library website. But we're doing readings on reparations, and Peter Ratcliffe has done an incredible job of curating our readings and taking us through history from slavery up through Jim Crow, through the New Deal. Last time we talked about the March on Washington and World War II. Coming up, the readings that we're doing right now are on the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 65, which represented both new achievements for the movement, but also a containment of that movement. So I encourage people to join us. It is a great group. The readings are they're articles, not full books, so most of us can find the time to fit them into our schedule, and it's been a really incredible learning experience about the experience of American descendants of slavery. So welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. Other news from the wards or around the city today before we go? I have a comparatively small thing to share, but just reminder that as we lock down again, that it's important that we do our best to support our small businesses and restaurants that are really struggling to just keep it together, pay their rent bills, and stay alive. We know we love to go out and eat so much, and looking forward to a day when we can do that again. But in the here and now, any opportunity we have to support, especially our small mom and pop businesses, we should do that. And I think we all know that here around the table. One place that isn't necessarily on the top of my mind, but was reminded to me by a constituent, was the Como Zoo and Conservatory has a gift shop. And the gift shop is full of really cool, thoughtful items. Some souvenirs, but also if you gift people over the season, wonderful, thoughtful gifts for elders and for children and for people who are curious about nature. And it's a cool place to just wander into, and you get that nice breath of humid air when you go into Como. So I highly recommend making that one of your little small business stops as we're out supporting our businesses in our community. And maybe over the next few weeks, we can highlight some of them in our wards that are really doing the full court press to get us to come and visit and use our platform to share those business opportunities or those shopping opportunities in the weeks to come. So, okay, looks like we don't have other announcements, but we do have our Truth and Taxation hearing at 6 o'clock. We have to have it scheduled at a time certain, so we will get about 40 minutes to stretch our legs and interact with our families and then come back to order. We have 8 people scheduled to speak today. We'll have just a very quick summary from Holly about where we're at today, going into the last 7 days of our budget, and then we will hear from people. And I will, last thought is encourage my colleagues. I undoubtedly have already done this, but if you have not had an opportunity to peruse the 130-ish emails that have come in lieu of coming to the Truth and Taxation, this is a good opportunity to take a peek at what people have shared with us by email, and we have encouraged them to use that method to contact us as well. So with that, there is nothing else on our agenda, and we will be adjourned and see folks again at 6 o'clock for a Truth and Taxation hearing. We're adjourned. Thank you.